Hello again. Are you tired of me yet? My name is Teacher Julie, and I'm here today to talk to you about the past tense and weather. So we will practice our weather words, but today we will speak about the past, about the weather before today. Before today. So let's get our lesson pulled up and uh, today we want to talk about this question. What was the weather like yesterday? Yesterday. We're using past tense. Was. What was the weather like yesterday? Yesterday. So we have a calendar for April 21. Today, when I make the video, it is April 15th. This is today. Today. Okay. I'm going to change pens because that pen is difficult. April 15th. You can hear me say the T. April 15th is today. I want to talk about the weather before today. So I need to use past tense. I want to talk about the weather yesterday. Yesterday. What was the weather yesterday? Yesterday, in Edmonton, where we live, it was sunny and warm with a little wind, just a little wind. This is a week. Okay. When I look at the week before, I call that last week. Last week. Last week. What was the weather like last week? Last week. The week of April 4th through 10th. What was the weather like last week? I can also ask, what was the weather like last month? Last month, and I mean March. March is before April. March 21. Or I can ask, what was the weather like last year? Last year. What was the weather like last year in April 2020? I remember the weather last year. It was terrible. It was very bad. It was cold, and we had a lot of snow last April 2020. So the weather this month, this year, is very good. Last year, it was terrible. Last week, the weather was cool. This week, the weather is warm. Last week, the weather was cool. This week, the weather is warm. So let's practice some past tense. When we talk about weather, we will use was. Okay? Question, you say the answer. Look at the picture and tell me an answer. Please use past tense. What was the weather like yesterday? It was rainy and it was cool. It was 12 degrees Celsius. It was rainy. It was cool. It was 12 degrees Celsius. What was the weather like last winter? Was It was cool and it was frosty. It was also snowy. It was -2 degrees Celsius. You see here, it was cool and it was frosty. I use and when I want to tell you two things. I can use the word also when I want to say and again. It was cool and frosty and snowy. Or I can say it was cool and frosty and also snowy. This also is like an and, okay? What was the weather like last Thursday? Last Thursday. Look at this picture. Use the picture. It was cool. It was partly sunny. It was partly cloudy. It was -5 degrees Celsius. What was the weather like in Kuwait? I'm using past tense. Maybe I mean last month, last year. What was the weather like in Kuwait? It was hot. It was very hot. It was windy and dusty. It was 32 degrees Celsius. When I hear past tense, I answer past tense. It was very hot. It was windy. It was 32 degrees Celsius. What was the weather like in the jungle? It was very hot and it was humid. It was 35 degrees Celsius. 35 degrees Celsius. What was the weather like last night? It was hot and it was stormy. It was cloudy. It was 28 degrees Celsius. If you like to say plus, that's okay. It was plus 28 degrees Celsius. What was the weather like last February? In February, last February. It was very cold and it was windy. It was a blizzard. It was -27 degrees Celsius. was the weather like last night? It was, it was cool, and it was foggy. It was 5 degrees Celsius. What was the weather like in the mountains? What was the weather like in the mountains? These are mountains. Mountain. It was very cold, and it was clear. Clear means no clouds in the sky. Okay, this is the sky, and clear means no clouds. It was sunny. It was minus 36 degrees Celsius. What was the weather like in Victoria? It was warm and it was humid. It was rainy. It was cloudy. It was 21 degrees Celsius. What was the weather like in Manitoba? It was cold and it was frosty. It was minus 23 degrees Celsius. What was the weather like in Ontario? It was hot, it was foggy and cloudy. It was 25 degrees Celsius. What was the weather like on the prairies? The prairies in Canada are Alberta, Saskatchewan, and parts of Manitoba. The prairies, this is prairie with the grass. What was the weather like on the prairies? It was cool and it was windy and partly cloudy. This is a mistake. It was 12 degrees Celsius. My question is past tense. My answer needs to be past tense. That's our English past tense practice for today. I hope you are understanding past tense for the weather. We use the word was. If there's plural, we say were. The clouds were big. The sun was warm. All right. What else would be plural? Clouds are plural. Pretty much everything else is was singular. Happy practicing. I'll see you next time for more English practice. Bye now.